Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. So lately we've been talking all about the LEC slots, what teams are going to be leaving the LEC, what teams are going to be coming into the LEC, the whole drama of how much the slots are going to sell for, what's the actual value of them, what should people pay for them, all of this different stuff. But in this video today, we're going to be flipping the script a little bit. We're actually going to be talking about the LCS, which I've covered a little bit in the past. And the rumor that I've been told and what's kind of been going on behind the scenes is that I've tweeted this out, as many as up to 3 teams could potentially be looking at leaving the LCS. But it turns out that number could be even higher, which is a little bit crazy. You got to think, the LCS only has 10 teams in it. 3 teams potentially looking to leave the league. That's already 30% of your league. That is crazy, crazy, crazy turnover. I mean, that'd be pretty crazy turnover just from even the start of like franchising. But to have that all just in one season happening, it's a good and a bad sign. You know, it's a bad sign because you don't want that much turnover and stuff. You want some consistency and stability. That's what franchising is for. But if it means getting out the bad orgs and the bottom feeding orgs and the orgs that have no money and no future and all this stuff and getting in new orgs that are hopefully going to be better than them, then I think it can be a good thing as well. So it's a little bit concerning, maybe not entirely concerning. Maybe it's exciting. Who knows for sure? At least it'll be something different coming in, even if the new teams also suck and don't want to spend money and don't want to create a brand. But on Doublelift's most recent episode of Trash Talk, this is just a super, super good show, super good podcast. He gets amazing guests, obviously. He has Carlos, Steve, and Joe Marsh on, and they talk about what's going on behind the scenes at the LCS right now. And Doublelift actually shares one of the things he heard. So let's see what Doublelift has to say about this.
Have you guys heard about 4 LCS teams trying to sell? And like one of them is Dig. And okay, basically, I'll tell you guys what I heard. I heard that Dig bought their spot. I forget from who. Some other org. They bought it for 30 mil. They can't. Like a bunch of teams in LCS are trying to sell, but it's not a good time. They can't find anyone to buy it for more than they got it for. So.
But is this news from when?
Really recently. Really recently.
I mean, right now you can't really buy or sell shit. I mean, so you can't really.
So I thought that was pretty spicy. I thought that was pretty interesting. Doublelift says he heard 4 teams were trying to sell. He said he heard one of them was Dig, and that Dig apparently spent somewhere in the ballpark of 30 million to get in the LCS in the first place. I think the original franchising fees were like 10 million for, the original 10 teams. I think Dignitas maybe bought their spot from somebody else part of the ways in. I don't exactly remember. And I don't think it super matters right now, but say what Doublelift is saying is true, and he heard that Dignitas was able to get in the LCS for 30 million, and he's hearing that they are not now able to sell that for more. Now, does that mean they're not able to sell it for more than 30 million at all, or does that mean they're not able to sell it for, what they would consider a good amount more than 30 million? Because you want to get some kind of return on your investment. Obviously, you don't just want to break even or make like 1 million or something like that. You bought it for 30, you're probably going to try and sell it for at least like 35, at least like 40, something like that. Especially when you see slots in the LEC, selling for 35, 40, 45, 50, is like the ballpark range we're talking. And there's a ton of reasons why LCS slots would maybe not be as valuable. Obviously, viewership has been going down. We're not as competitive. It's going to be harder with import restrictions and all this different stuff going on. And we don't know what the future of the LCS looks like. So it's a little bit shakier. It's a little bit harder of a sell. But at the same time, still, the American audience, the American viewer, the money in the United States and in America in general and in North America is still really, really good. And if somebody does come in and they're able to kind of revitalize the viewer base and the fans and all that stuff and get the viewership turned around, like Carlos and G2 thinks that they would be able to do in North America, then you can make so much money. You can for sure make more money in North American esports than European esports if all things were equal. Now, obviously, right now, not all things are equal. EU's kind of trending up or plateauing. The LCS is definitely trending downward. That doesn't mean things can't turn around, but it means it's a much riskier investment, which means, hey, people are probably going to be willing to pay less. So, couple of interesting things there. If it is 4 teams looking to sell, like I said, I've heard of 3 teams before. I think some of the common names that pop up are like Dignitas, Immortals, as two like the kind of the bottom feeding teams in the LCS right now. We know FlyQuest is not a very big organization, and if they, had 30, 35, 40 million dollars floated in front of them, especially with hard times potentially ahead, economically and stuff, maybe FlyQuest would consider selling. And we've even heard TSM has inquired potentially about 2 of the LEC slots, so maybe TSM is being included in these 4 teams looking to sell as well. I don't know, but the bigger thing to me there is that, at least according to what Doublelift is hearing, is that some of these teams are not able to get the prices that they are looking to get right now. And like Carlos says, yeah, this is a really, really shitty time to try and sell anything. And Steve goes on to elaborate this as well. Like, it doesn't make sense that we had this big booming time in esports where all the valuations are going crazy, a ton of money's being thrown around, a ton of money's being spent, a ton of money's being invested into these orgs, the valuations are going up and up and up, nobody wants to sell then. But now, as the esports bubble is starting to pop, as some people are saying, and some valuations are starting to go down, people are having to lay off people are having to cut back on salaries and spending and all this stuff. Now people want to try and sell off their LCS team. Like Steve says, it makes no sense. This is when your assets are going to be worth less. People have less money to spend right now. People have less money to speculate. People have less money to invest. So yeah, Steve and Carlos and these guys, they're not shocked that the market isn't great for these teams. The market's going to be great when there's a ton of money being thrown around, and now there's not as much money being thrown around. So yeah, people can laugh at the LCS and say, oh, haha, see, nobody even wants to pay anything for LCS slots. Or you can also understand that a very similar thing is going on in the LEC right now. Yes, there are a couple organizations that are interested in, like the Astralis slot or the Mad Lion slot or the Rogue slot or whatever, but a lot of these negotiations are getting hung up on dollar amounts as well, because these teams are not willing to take the financial risk and maybe don't even have the money to spend on these right now. And if this was a couple years ago, you'd have to assume that both an LEC and an LCS slot would be very, very valuable, as will an LCS and LEC slot be super, super valuable if we're able to make it past this esports bubble time. If we have like an esports winter or whatever for a couple years or a year or whatever, and when you make it out of that, like Steve says, that's when your valuations are going to go through the roof. That's when you want to have the slot and sell it off. You don't want to sell it off now, unless you're one of these organizations that is just doing super, super poorly and just needs money really, really badly to actually pay back people or pay your debts or pay your bills or whatever. So that could definitely be the situation that teams are in. But like Steve and Carlos say, yeah, now it's just a terrible time to try and sell, because the crazy money is not being thrown around like it once was. So to Carlos and Steve, it doesn't really seem shocking that a lot of these LCS teams, even if they're potentially interested in selling, aren't really able to get the dollar amounts that they're looking for, because for the same reasons that they want to sell, the same reasons that they want out are the same reasons why people aren't going to be willing to overpay. Yes, they can see the LCS viewership is dropping as well. Yes, they can see how expensive the player salaries and the infrastructure and the taxes and living in Los Angeles and all this stuff is for all these different things. But I did think this was very, very spicy that Doublelift has heard that up to 4 organizations in the LCS are considering or thinking about selling right now, or maybe even trying to sell right now, but that the market isn't super great. That even if there are a lot of other teams interested, and that's the thing, this doesn't mean that a ton of people aren't interested in getting into the LCS. They probably are. League of Legends is still the S+ tier esport. The viewership's still insane. The money's still insane, especially when you're comparing it to other esports. I'm sure there's tons of people interested in coming into the LCS, but it just means they maybe not be interested in the prices that some of these teams are setting or some of these teams are asking for, which I think is a really, really big update. And I appreciate Doublelift, coming out and dropping that bomb on us. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is going to be happening over the next couple weeks. August, September, this is the prime time for figuring out who's going to be selling, who's going to be buying, who's coming, who's going, because at some point you have to start getting ready for the 2023 season. These things need to be figured out soon. And right now, it seems like there could be a ton of potential changes on the way for the LCS, but it seems like right now they're hitting a lot of roadblocks in the, discussions or the negotiation phase or whatever, because teams can't agree on dollar amounts right now, because we don't know what the future of the LCS looks like. We don't know what the future of esports looks like. So there's just a lot of question marks, and that's not exactly good when you're asking people to throw around $35-40+ million. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Let me drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought about anything we talked about in this video today. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.